Hello, welcome back to the Ultrascape podcast. This is episode 13, and it's been a little while. We've not done it as quick as we'd hoped, but we're back, and we've got a pretty good episode coming up this month. So there's going to be a lot of race recaps. There's been plenty going on as we sort of reach the end of the summer, and then we've got an update on Sofiane Sehili. You may remember we've been updating on his Trans-Eurasia record attempt over the past episodes, and as we left it on the last episode, just around a month ago, his dot had stopped at the Russian border, and you may have seen in the news that he's basically been detained in Russia. And so today we've got Sofiane's partner, Fanny Bensussan, to join us, and well, she's the person with the most contacts with Sofiane at the moment, and knows everything that's going on. So yeah, we're gonna speak to Fanny and hear exactly what the situation is. And so we'll come on to that later in the podcast. Before we go any further, we have to thank our sponsors. As always, Redshift Sports have been sponsoring this podcast from the start. And we've both been using the products, haven't we, Beccy?
We have indeed. They turned my cyclocross bike into a commuter, so I now have no reason not to go to the gym or to cycle to work.
So Beccy has been riding the top shelf riser drop bars, which makes more sense when you've got a small bike that is too low for you than it sounds like it should. And I, of course, am a big fan of the shock stop seat post, which I used in the Alps Divide. Again, we'll come on to that in a while. So yeah, a big thank you to Redshift. Really great products. They've got a little discount. I'll put the link on screen and below. And thanks to them. And also Albion. They've just brought out a new range for autumn, long sleeve jerseys and things like that. They've got some really great stuff coming out in the next few months, which you may have seen me using at some of the events in the summer. So we've got 15% discount for those guys as well. So again, that link on screen and down below in the description. So yeah, click on that and we'll move on to the neuse.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Alps Divide, which I think you know a bit more about than me, Josh, given not only did you race, you came second.
I did.
This is it's a crossing of the Alps.
So it starts in Menton on the Mediterranean. So basically, sort of just by Nice, or the other side of Monaco from Nice, if you're kind of looking at the map, and finishes in Thonon-les-Bains, which is on Lac Léman, or Lake Geneva, as you may know it as. So essentially crossing the bulk of the Alps, south to north, and taking in some pretty big passes. A few little bits of single track, and a few little bits of hiker bike, and it's a brilliant ride, pretty spectacular, well worth doing. Yeah, as I said, I came second, but the winner was a guy called Ziggy. Now his nickname Ziggy. His real name is Zbigniew Moskowski. From Poland, and apologies, Ziggy, for my pronunciation. You may gather there's a reason that everyone refers to him as Ziggy. He was the fastest overall, 4 days, 11 hours, 49 minutes. He did an amazing ride. He was about 10k ahead of me pretty much the whole time. I caught him a couple of times. We had some sort of brief exchanges, normally early in the morning, as either one of us was passing or catching the other. But I just couldn't catch him near the end. He just didn't sleep. I did quite a bit of sleeping. He didn't sleep, and he just kept up the speed. He didn't crack. Pretty good ride there from Ziggy. And the fastest woman, again, another really, really strong ride. I think she was 7th overall. Julie von Gruning. She was the fastest woman, and she started Alps Divide only a few days after Badlands. I think she had about 3 or 4 days.
I checked out her Instagram just before this call, actually, and she has had a hell of a season. She started it at Atlas Mountain, and between then and now, she's raced the Tracker, Dead Ends and Cake, 303, Lucerne, Badlands, and then 3 days later Alps Divide. So she's
pretty impressive.
Rest.
Yeah, deserving of a rest, and just shows she's really strong. So definitely a name to keep an eye on, I guess, in future seasons. Also, it started on Saturday, as we record, was the Japanese Odyssey. Now this is an event that's quite close to my heart. I did it in 2023. So it runs every other year. This year it's around 2,300 kilometers, depending on route choice. So there's 20 checkpoints. You plot your own route. Starts in Kagoshima, and then heads north to Matsumoto City. And again, most of the checkpoints are on top of massive mountains. It's a really great way to explore Japan. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I did it, and I definitely consider doing it again. Early days still. So I'm sure we'll have a bit of a roundup next episode. Also, the race that happened a couple of weeks back. Further Equinox, previously known as Further East. So that was won by Alex McCormack. Obviously, that's around the east of England. Actually, did quite a lot on the route for that. So it's, again, my local race, I suppose. So I popped out and saw quite a few riders go by. I saw Alex, and also Cara Dixon was the fastest woman. So yeah, fantastic rides, both of them. Pretty good conditions as well. There's still not been a muddy edition of that race, so when that happens, it's going to be horrendous, I can assure you. But that was actually the last edition in this format and on this date. So next year, it's going to be run in June, I believe. It's going to be called Further Merry England. Camille does like to give his races funny names and change it every other year, but it'd be a shorter affair, about 300k, and I think more of an emphasis on sitting around the campfire and telling stories, which would be nice. It'd be a good event. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm sure there'll be more details over the coming months.
I feel like every episode we recorded, Camille has a new race for next year.
Yeah, or a new name for an existing race. One of the two, isn't it?
As we talk at the moment, the Trans-Pyrenees race by Lostot is in full action. They've been racing for about 3 days now. This is Lostot's. It was their second event after the Transcontinental, started in 2019, and we're on our 5th edition now, given they missed a few during the pandemic. But it's a double traverse of the Pyrenees. It typically starts on the west, on the Atlantic, rides out to the Mediterranean, and then back again. This year's about 1,900 kilometres. It's approximately that, given it is technically a free route with control points and parcours, but it does have one of the longest parcours of any race. I think it's the longest. There's the last parcours is parcours 6, and it's a 677 kilometre parcours, which follows the Raid Pyrenees route and covers about 30 cols, which in itself is enough of a ride, let alone
all the classics too. All the classics of the Pyrenees, like Tourmalet, things like that. The Bisque, all of the massive ones. Yeah, it's it's a hell of a ride in its own right, that parcours, isn't it?
Yeah. Outside of that parcours, we have most of the race. The leaders are currently somewhere along that long parcours, as they should be finished within the next day or two. Interestingly, this is the first time I've seen this from Lostot, is a passive parcours. They had passive control point. They had control point 0, which meant that nobody needed to stop there, but they did need to ride through it. And a couple of riders missed that, including one of the early race favourites, Conor McKenzie, and he's since scratched. It's apparently not clear in the manual, but I don't know. I haven't seen that. At the moment, Tim de Wit is leading. He has a decent lead, but there are 5 riders within 2 or 3 hours behind him. And given they're in the heart of the parcours, you can lose a couple of hours like that easily through poor decisions and poor resupply. So it's all to play for. The riders behind him include Thomas Bory and Lucas Strittmatter. Josh, you were actually explaining to me a little bit about Thomas's past few months.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a rough few months. So he was doing was it the Tour de Géants or Tour of Giants, I guess. My French pronunciation isn't that good. Nor is my English, to be fair. So basically, 700k ultra in the Alps, and it sounds like he came down a descent, I imagine, at night and hit a family of wild boar. And if you see his Instagram, you can see the front end of his bike basically folded. He went, I guess, over the handlebars and fractured. I think it was 3 fractures in his vertebrae. So the fact that he's on the start line is pretty amazing, given it was 6 or 7 weeks ago. That's a pretty rapid recovery. And the fact he's managed to keep himself fit and strong and able to be up there in the front is even more impressive. So yeah, so we'll see how Thomas gets on over the next day or so. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing sort of recovery. And Thomas is pretty pretty stubborn when it comes to these races. So I'm sure he'll bury himself to do the best he can. I've been on the tail end of him not sleeping for nights on end before. So that's a pretty good story.
He certainly hasn't chosen the easy route either. There's a couple of shots on his Instagram of him doing opting for some of the hiker bikes, which was mind-blowing considering they are serious hikes, let alone with a bike on your back. So much so there's even a handrail to some of them.
That's the thing about this event as well, is that the Lostot, they like to set little traps, don't they? Routing traps, or I guess risks. We see it on the transcontinental race as well. It's like, do you take the obvious straight line route, which is probably going to be brutal, or do you risk it, or are you more comfortable off road, or do you do the longer way around, which is probably more sensible but slower? So yeah, I've seen a couple of riders on like 4-hour hiker bikes that look basically like via ferratas, like full-on hiking trails. Bearing in mind, well, this has traditionally been more of a road race. This year there's some more gravel parkour, but yeah, most of it is going to be road. So again, there's a lot of questions in terms of, you know, what gear you're going to take, what bike setup, what footwear. I know some people have been complaining of doing 4-hour hiker bikes on road shoes with road cleats, which isn't the ideal combination. So interesting to watch. But once the riders are on the way back west, like Beccy said, they're on the sort of the Road Pyrenees route, which is predominantly road, I think, but it is lost dot, so you do never know. I'm sure there'll be a trick up their sleeve near the end. But yeah, Tim DeWitt is riding at the moment. He's of course come third at the Transcontinental race twice, and I think it's fair to say he's a master of planning. I had dinner with him actually in Morocco at the start of the year after the Atlas Mountain race, and some of the stuff he does to plan routes, he's made his own software and stuff and algorithms to figure out, from Google Earth and Google Maps and satellite and heat maps, what is the optimum route in terms of road surface and things like this. So you can pretty much be sure that Tim has picked the most efficient route. I have to say I'm not that organised.
Elsewhere, we have the top 3 women who are sitting around top 10 to top 15 overall, but the 3 of them are all quite close. They're Joanna Pietrides, Ellen Fromenti and Nicole van Battenberg. They're all veterans of various races around Europe, including the Unknown Race, Two Volcano Sprint, TCR and VIA, with the exception of Helene, who finished Silk Road early this year in a pair. So it'll be interesting to see how the 3 of them go, as there doesn't seem to be a standout rider yet.
Yeah, but they're all really strong. Actually, I was with Helen in Kyrgyzstan. She was with me and Alex and her partner Stefan on a tour out to the start in Osh, and then she rode as a pair with Stefan, and that was her second off-road event, and she finished that really strongly. So yeah, she's a really strong rider. And once you've been to Kyrgyzstan as well, it just sort of puts everything else in perspective, as I'm sure Beccy will agree with. It's just not quite the same when you've not been eating dry cheese sandwiches up like a 3,000 metre plateau for a couple of days.
No, at least the food in the Pyrenees is better.
Yeah, well, although France on a Sunday is the most remote place in the universe.
Yeah.
In other news, we've been covering Angus Young, and a well-known name within the sort of the ultracycling community. He, of course, set the FKT on the Eastern Divide Trail a few weeks back, and it turns out he's been putting his time on the trail to good use. He was out there 39 days, and in those 39 days, it seems he's decided to set up his own race. So it's the Ethelred Ultra. It's on the 21st of May, or starts on the 21st of May, 2026. And it's based around his home in the south of England. So it's a figure of 8 near the New Forest, taken in Salisbury Plain and Dorset, with 2 300k loops. So riders can have caches at the HQ. And you can race the whole 600k or two laps and have a stop in the middle. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. There's an Instagram of the same name, the race name, on or follow off Angus's Instagram, and I'm sure there'll be more details. But he's currently riding down South America with his partner, so for the next 10 weeks you probably won't hear too much. But yeah, that's one to keep an eye out for over the coming months.
Elsewhere, the biggest news since our last record is Lloyd Wright, one of the photographers at Silk Road this year, nominated Josh as the People's Champ. So on his Instagram, there's a photo of Josh doing what I think is the river crossing. And you're about knee deep in that. So to anyone else, that's about chin deep.
Yeah. The only thing is, if it's based on Kyrgyzstan, there are not really any people up in those mountains. So that puts in perspective the level of achievement there.
Elsewhere, much closer to home for us, up in the Highlands, in the Scottish Highlands, is an event called the Tour de Farce. I hesitate to call it a race. I almost hesitate to call it an event. There's not.
I mean, if you race, you're not going to win it. I think that's fair to say. We were both there last year, and yeah, it's heavily weighted against anyone who might show a modicum of trying to compete, like seriously.
And it's a 400-kilometer event, but it's a lot more than that. It's over 4 days, and then there will be a stop in a hostel every evening. So the event is supported by Hosteling Scotland. So every evening riders get a bed, a shower. There's typically drying rooms in the Scottish hostels because it always rains in the Highlands. And the organisers, who are the Adventure Syndicate, will be offering a warm meal every evening. But there's a lot of twists to it. So there are a couple of different jerseys and different time penalties and bonuses. You'll get a bonus if you stop and eat food, and you're buying food from a local cafe or pub. Everyone also has to carry an egg, which you're not allowed to hard boil. You decorate it. It was last night, as they all started this morning. That was last night or Sunday night. And they'll decorate them and they'll carry them with themselves. And you'll get a penalty if your egg breaks. So a lot of people have created these egg carrying contraptions. I remember some of which I felt like there was a bit of cheating going on, because the boys from Restrap had access to all these bag making facilities in the warehouse, in the factory, and they made these brilliant little cushioned bags for their eggs.
The thing was,
when
an egg box is actually pretty good. It's like amazing how simple it is to not break an egg.
It's also amazing how bad adults are at staying silent for a minute when you give any broken eggs a 1 minute silence. I remember a couple of people bursting out laughing, and I wasn't expecting that level of disrespect to the poor eggs.
So yeah, it's not the most serious of events in the world, but there's some pretty hefty cycling in it and riding. Took in some big sections that feature on the Highland Trail 550, like the Leadmore Traverse as part of the event. So I think it's a really welcoming place for people who maybe want a taste of the more remote bikepacking races. With a bit of fun, a lot of fun, a lot of community. So yeah, that's started now. So we might get a roundup next time. See who won the second edition. Elsewhere, we're talking a bit into 2026 already now. Lots of new races being announced. So Italy Divide, it's been around for quite a while now. In actual fact, next year will be the 10th edition. So initially, the first few editions started in Rome. So I did it back in 2017 when it started in Rome, and then it got extended down to Naples for the start. But however, for next year, for the 10th edition, there's going to be a new start in Bari. So it's going to be almost the entire length of Italy. So it's kind of an off-road event, maybe more of a mountain bike event in certain areas, but lots of gravel as well. So that new edition will be 1,650 kilometers. Or you can choose to start in the previous starting destinations of Naples or Rome. So it's 1,250k from Naples or 700k from Rome. And the finish is in Tobolni, which is just north of Lake Garda, which has been the traditional finish point since the beginning. So yeah, good event. Italy is a great place to ride a bike. Weather can catch you out, but there's normally good pasta, so it kind of balances out somewhere along the line.
Elsewhere in Europe, we've had the Pyrenees race since the last episode. It's organised by Matteo, who's behind the Gran Guanche events in the Canary Islands. Our winner was Adrian Guilman, and our fastest woman was Beccy, who only started riding 6 months ago. The Pyrenees is a single traverse of the Pyrenees, primarily in the Spanish Pyrenees, but it does dip into the French Pyrenees occasionally. And it looks like it went really well. It looks like a beautiful event. Seems like there's a lot coming up in the Pyrenees.
Lots of gravel as well, I think. I think we're talking to Matteo before it began, or last year. When I was in the Canaries, he was saying he wanted it to be a really good gravel route, and he spent like Matteo and his partner Danny, they spend a lot of time scouting these routes out, and they're very organised as well. So you always know their events are going to be good. And yeah, sounds like for a first edition, it's gone very smoothly, which is good. Elsewhere, the other side of the Atlantic, Salida to the Sea. It's not the most well-known of events in the US. Obviously, there's some, big events in the US, like Tour Divide, being the most famous, which actually passes through Salida, which is in southern Colorado. But this event goes from Salida, sort of in the mountains, and heads out westwards to the Pacific, in Oregon. There was only one participation for the Grand Part this year. Adrian Lichty, a name probably well known to most of those, certainly in Europe. So yeah, Adrian just went because he wanted to do it. No one to race against, but he raced it nonetheless. He's put up some pretty wild videos and stuff on his Instagram. I think one day he got stuck for 12 hours in peanut butter mud. And yeah, there's just the mountains look spectacular. So yeah, that was riding through Colorado, through Utah, Nevada, through California, and then finished on the Pacific in Oregon. And Adrian finished in 12 days and 3 hours.
We come to the end of the season over the next couple of weeks, certainly the Northern Hemisphere season. And I was wondering if we'll see a couple of people doing some records or FKT rides over the coming few weeks, and potentially to keep a goal in the calendar or keep fresh for a next year's goal. This year we've seen riders like Angus, we mentioned Sofiane earlier, Molly Weaver and Sarah Ruggins all attempt their own records. So I feel like in general it's got a bit more popular, potentially because the world's opened up a bit over the past few years since the pandemic, but certainly not in the UK. Molly and Sarah took on these challenges this year. Potentially that's the year that they felt was right for them. But people just seem to be writing their own challenges a little bit more. So I was looking to see what we might get next year. We know that Sarah Ruggins is looking to do something big next year, and she's actually looking for some team member, support member to join the team, as hers are typically supported endeavours. So we will see what that will be. I wonder if it will be something like the Round the World, given I know the date is June next year, and that feels like a sensible time to do a Around the World attempt on the routes that we've seen over the past 2 years.
Yeah, geopolitically maybe not so ideal though, but
perhaps not.
Yeah, certainly need a lot of logistics anyway. So yeah, that'd be one to keep an eye on. Imagine if we had Sarah and Molly both going head to head on for that record.
That would be brilliant, especially as we've never seen a woman do a fully supported Round the World. Yeah. The men's is Mark Beaumont, and he was as supported as you can be, but the women's is not. And Guinness doesn't recognise the difference.
Mark certainly set the bar extremely high. And then the women's record, is it still Jenny? Did it get beaten? I don't think it has. Oh, of course, Lael. Yeah. That's last year. I should know that. And obviously Lael did it. Maybe not as supported as Mark, but yeah, certainly supported. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So yeah, I guess watch this space and see what other announcements there are for 2026. So I think that's it for the news. So now we're going to speak to Fanny and get an update on Sofiane and find out what the situation is. So we've now welcomed Fanny to the podcast, Sofiane's partner, and she's going to just give us an update on Sofiane because, as most people already know who listen to the podcast, he was doing the Trans-Eurasia record and he got within 200k of the finish and the final border crossing into Russia, and he was detained. And that was just about the time of our last recording. And it turns out he's basically been detained in Russia since that point. So Fanny's agreed to come onto the podcast. So hi Fanny, thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Hi Fanny.
And yeah, it's it must be a very difficult time. But yeah, I thought it was important that we got the story from from yourself, seeing as you're closest to Sofiane and know the most about the situation. So I guess we should start. Like, what is Sofiane's current situation and status?
Current situation is that he's still detained. He's still in a prison somewhere in Ussurisk, which is about halfway between where he was arrested near the border and Vladivostok. I don't know why they moved him there exactly.
Is he in a main prison, or is it more of something different?
It is a main prison for what I understand, because obviously I don't have the details, I don't have pictures or anything. But yeah, he's just been moved from a cell where he was staying with just one other inmate, and now he's in another cell with two other persons.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably a main prison. And we are waiting for a proper trial to decide what to do with him.
So what are the actual charges? I mean, what happened at the border? So what was the initial reason for his detention, and why is he being held? What's the charge as such?
He's just charged, and I say just, but yeah, that's actually a minor infraction. It's charged of crossing a border illegally, which he did, and he admitted he did. And the reason he did that is that he was very close to the records, but the border he was at, he had to cross with a train, and obviously doing those 20 kilometers by train would have just cancelled the whole record. So and also that day he missed that train. So there was no way for him to cross by train and then decide, oh, is there another solution to just reach the border on the other side and validate the record. So he missed the train that day. He would have been able to cross, maybe if he waited another 24 hours, but the record was, I think, 30, 50 hours to the record. So if he waited 24 hours, he couldn't have reached Vladivostok in time.
Yeah.
So I guess
so he cycled basically.
So I guess he cycled because he called me after missing the train, I believe. I can't remember now. That was early September, or maybe just before the train station. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try to go on the train." Missed it, and then I did not hear from him anymore. And as everybody else, I just saw he started crossing the border, and I believe that in his mind, it's just another way to move from one point to the other by bicycle. He crossed the whole continent just like that. So why not keep going, I guess.
Yeah, Sofiane
And
doesn't stop, does he?
yeah, he had a valid visa to Russia. So my bet is just that he presented himself to the control and show his visa and hope for, just being kicked back at the border in China or allowed to cross.
Yeah.
And
I guess almost
unfortunately, well,
yeah, he didn't. I guess it's almost like could have been the wrong person at the wrong time. If he'd have had someone else on the border guard, they might have just sent him back or not.
maybe, or maybe you just, yeah. I mean, at that point, after riding for 2 months and being so close to the final destination, he was even telling me the day before, or maybe if I arrived in Vladivostok in the morning, I can catch a plane in the afternoon and go back like the day after. He was so close and so eager to finishing that whole thing.
Yeah,
So
even when I saw him in
can think that
Kyrgyzstan, like
yeah,
you could
already.
tell he was tired. Like mentally, he was
Yeah.
kind of fatigued, I guess. But yeah. So have you heard how he is?
I've heard how he's not directly. We exchange letters. They don't. They're not. He doesn't receive my letters, and I don't receive his letters in return. We have to wait for the lawyer to see him and to hand him the letters directly by hand because, yeah, the prison does not allow any communication. So the lawyer does see him she saw him after 2 weeks of detention, and then she saw him last Tuesday. So the last I heard from him was last Tuesday when I got just a batch of letters.
Yeah.
And he was actually doing fine, considering he's in jail. He's stuck in a small cell with 2 other inmates. I think he was not allowed at the time to go out at all. They allowed some walks during the day, but he was not allowed that. He got a shower once a week. So yeah, and he didn't get any books to read or anything, but he's fed. There's no, some people you can imagine, oh, that's a prison, it's very violent and everything, but no, everyone was kind of nice with him. He can't talk to anyone really because he doesn't speak Russian, and Russian people don't speak that much English. So he's doing fine. It's just probably very weird to spend 2 months on the road and suddenly be stuck in a 15 square meters cell with 2 other persons.
But then it's a funny one because mentally, he spent a lot of time alone anyway. So I wonder if it's, in a weird way, it's obviously very different. But the isolation, and you're in like when I spoke to him in Kyrgyzstan, like when we just randomly bumped into each other, you could tell he'd not spoken to many people for a long time. It was focused and in his own. Just social interaction seemed like a chore.
But he was still able to, see wide space around him and also to communicate with people. I was talking to him every single day, even if it was just a few words. So that's very weird to not being able to speak to him at all.
Yeah.
And it was a choice when he was touring. He had the choice.
Well, hopefully he'll be okay. And well, just knowing Sofiane as I do and seeing how strong he is mentally, hopefully that's gonna mean that he can deal with it.
Yeah, the letters I got last week were actually reassuring about that. It was like holding on and hoping for the best, and just telling that he is strong enough to go through all of that.
I believe that. I've seen him do some incredible things with his mind, even the races, like the big one. I mean, we've seen him win all these big races, but the big one was the Silk Road race in 2023, and we hung out before, and he was super, super nervous. I've never seen him so nervous. And then he crashed on the first day, and then he pulled himself up. He probably should have pulled out. I'm pretty sure he had concussion, to be fair, but he won that with his head, and so yeah, it definitely gives me some hope for him that is mentally strong enough to deal with it, and hopefully we hear some good news.
Yeah. And also for now, we feel like it's been a very long time already. It's been 5 weeks already. So that's very, very long. But it seems to be the normal process in Russia. Everything is just taking a lot of time. Like there is an investigation. From our point of view, you could say, well, everyone knows Sofiane. You can just Google his name and you know exactly who he is and what he was doing. He's obviously not a spy. It's very obvious that he was doing a world record cycling through Eurasia. So that's very obvious to us. But there's still an investigation going on and it's almost finished. So hopefully when that is finished, they hand the file to a judge. The judge decides for a date and there's a trial. So for now, everything is going pretty smooth.
Yeah.
So and for now, he's still charged only with crossing a border illegally, and for that he can have a big fine, and then just be kicked out of the country. Some people in the media, you can see that the risk is also 2 years of prison, but that's only if there is aggravating circumstances, which is not the case at all. So we're not talking about 2 years of prison for now. For now, we're just talking about waiting for the trial and hoping he just got a fine, and then we'll have to find a way to get him back home. So it's very, very long, but that's the normal process in Russia.
Yeah. So there is, there's some positives to take away. Is there any time scale for like the next hearing?
Not really. I can say that the investigation is finished, so that's already a big step. And then I don't know how much time it can take for the judge to decide for a date. And that should not be any further than November 3rd. And it could happen before that, way before that. Maybe the second half of October, which is in just 10 days now.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if there will be additional time for finding a way to getting back home.
Yeah. I guess we just have to sit tight and wait and see, really, and hope for the best. And is there anything that we can do or listeners can do to help, or I guess any way to contact Sofiane? Or, well, obviously not to contact.
Well, I can't contact him at all, so you probably can't either.
But
if
anyway,
you find a way, just
messages.
But yeah, because there were so many messages of support from everyone, I just started an email address that you can give to the listeners, and you can write there. I'm trying to forward a few emails. I can't forward them all, obviously, because that would be a lot. But forward a few of them to the lawyer, and she can just give them to him next time she sees him. And I think it's a good thing that after all of that, he will have access to all the messages, and he can see how much support he had. Because I'm getting a lot of message directly to myself. So I think it's better for you to write to him kind of directly. He will not read everything right away, but he will for certain when he's back.
And what's the email address? I've put you on the spot now.
riderfreeworld@gmail.com. I think that's on my Instagram, or you probably give them the
I'll find it and put it on
address.
the screen anyway.
Yeah, just because I'm not sure what I wrote.
Fanny, you're doing brilliantly well. I imagine this is all quite difficult for the people around you. And it's all quite foreign to the bikepacking world. I think a lot of people aren't quite sure what to do. We've used words and talked about situations that most of us are not familiar with. So having that email is great to allow all the people who look up to Sofiane a way to do something. Yeah,
I must say all the messages that I got also gave me a lot of strength. You know, from time to time when I'm feeling depressed, I can see I'm not the only one waiting for him to come back home.
Yeah, I think we all are, really. So I guess, send your love to Sofiane on the email, and Fanny as well, because I know it's very difficult for you. And hopefully we have some good news soon.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep you updated. And I'm sorry if I don't do it like right away whenever there's news. I'm trying to wait a little and hear from everyone I'm talking to, the authorities, the lawyer, etc., to just give the right information and not jump on everything that comes out.
Exactly, and it is there's the courts are involved and stuff, so you can't just put everything out there, because the media gets hold of things and then it changes, and then it could affect the outcome. So well, you're doing really great, Fanny. So I'm sure everyone who's listening wants to sort of send you their strength and support. And thanks for taking the time to update us, because I know it's not easy. But it's nice to hear that Sofiane's doing well.
Yeah, well, thank you.
He's okay at least. So yeah,
he's okay. He's a best person to handle all of that.
Yeah. There's a reason he's won all of these brutally hard races, and it's not because he's weak of mind. And I think that's the key thing in this situation. So well, I think that's a fitting place to end this podcast. So I think we just have to say thank you so much to you, Fanny, for joining us, and thanks, Beccy.
Thank you very much, Fanny.
Yeah, hopefully next time we'll have some more positive news from Sofiane, and we'll update on some of the other races and events happening in the world of bikepacking. So we'll be back again next month. So thanks for listening, and see you all soon.